Hi, second grade. Welcome back. So this is writing lesson part 1, part B. If you have not watched part A, you need to pause the video and you need to go back and watch part A first. Today, our objectives are scholars will be able to identify and write adverbs. If you're watching part B and you already completed part A of this lesson, you already identified and wrote adverbs. So good job. Our next objective is that we are going to be able to plan an answer. When we're planning an answer, it's really important that we're focusing on the question words to help us understand the level of thinking that's required to answer the question. So, a lot of times in second grade, we'll get a question and we need to focus in on the question to really figure out what the question's asking us. So, our thinking job when we have a question is to think, what is each part asking me? And a big clue to do this is to find the question word. And then my next job is to think, how many paragraphs do I need to answer this question? So we're just going to quickly review some question words. Temple, this was an anchor chart that we had in our classroom. Howard, you probably have seen this in your classroom as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the question words, and it's going to help us figure out what we need to think about as we plan. So if it's a who question, our answer needs to be about a person. If it's a what question, we need a thing or an event. If it's a when question, we need a time. If it's a where question, we need a place. If it's a why question, we need a reason or why something happens. And if it's a how question, what are we going to need? The process or the way. Okay, so we're going to go through a teacher example. If you're looking at this and you're wondering, what is that, Ms. Polencars? I have your thinking job posted. So remember, you're thinking about what is each part asking me and how many paragraphs do I need to answer the question. I also have another anchor chart here with your question words to help you figure out what you need as you're planning your answer. So my example that I'm going to go through is there are many moments in our life that our hearts pound, our face turns bright red, and our stomach twists and turn. What was your most embarrassing experience, and how did you react in this moment? So my first question is to think about what is each part asking me. So I'm noticing that there's two questions here, two question words. My first question is, what was your most embarrassing experience? My second question is, how did you react in this moment? I have two questions, so I'm going to need the same number of paragraphs as the questions that I have. So if I have two questions, I'm going to have two paragraphs. If I have one question, I'm going to have one paragraph. If I have three questions, how many paragraphs am I going to have? If you're showing me 3, you are correct. The number of questions is the number of paragraphs you need. So for 2 questions, I'm going to have 2 paragraphs. So I separated the questions. My first question is, what was your most embarrassing experience? And my second question is, how did you react in this moment? To plan this, I'm going to look at my question word, what. So then I'm going to go back to my anchor chart and I'm going to think about what I need. If it is a what question, I am going to need a thing or an event in my answer. If for my next question, how did you react in this moment? It's a how question. So I'm going to need a process or a way that I reacted. And reviewing again, I have 2 questions. So how many paragraphs am I going to need to answer this question? Show me on your hands. Everybody should be holding up 2. It matches the number of questions. We're going to go through another example together. We do together. Your principal asks you to choose the most important problem that you would like to be solved. What problem would you identify, and why is this a problem that needs to be solved? Give details to support your answer. So first, I need to figure out what the questions are. I want you to talk and say what you think the questions are in this sentence, in this statement. The first question is, what problem would you identify? And the next question is, why is this a problem that needs to be solved? If you thought that it was give details to support your answer, this is not a question. This is just telling us that we're going to need more information to support our answer. There is no question words who, what, when, where, why, or how in give details to support your answer. So that is not a question. The first sentence is just giving us information about the questions. So we really want to focus in on those question words to find the questions. So now that I have my questions, what problem would you identify? And why is this a problem that needs to be solved? I can start planning my answer. The first part of planning your answer is to go back and look at the question word. This is a what question. To plan my answer, I will look for, you can use your anchor chart over here if you need support, a thing or event. Why is this a problem that needs to be solved? To plan my answer, I will look for, I want you to solve this by yourself. If you're having trouble, I want you to focus in on this question word. What is the question word in this statement? If you're saying why, you're absolutely right. Why is the question word in my statement? So now I'm going to go back and I'm thinking about what a why question needs. So to plan my answer, I will look for a reason. And then I have two questions, so I know that I have two paragraphs in my answer. Okay, now it's your turn. After I'm done reading this, you're going to go on Google Forms and you're going to fill this out by yourself. But first, let's read it together. History is filled with people who have changed the world. Who is the most famous person that has influenced your world? How has their life or actions influenced you? Give details to support your response. So I'm going to pause so that you can read that in your head. If you need more time, you can pause at the bottom of the screen to reread it. Because this is our first day doing this objective, I thought that I would break it up and give you the first question. So the first question is, who is a famous person who has influenced your world? And the second question is, how have their life actions influenced you? Now you're going to go to your Google form. And you're going to fill this out. This is posted in the Google form, and you're going to use your anchor charts to help you figure out what the question words are asking you to do. Remember to think about your thinking job. What is each part asking me? And how many paragraphs do I need to answer this question?